What a powerful message the Oscar award-winning short film that you saw, Innocente, sends to the world about growing up homeless in the United States. It's a film that shows only one example of the 1 in 45 children living in homelessness in the United States today. In the trailer for the short film, Innocente said, "Not having a home is like not having somewhere safe to go." When I have the opportunity to speak to the community about affordable housing, I often refer to the 3,000 families that are counting on us, the Springfield Housing Authority. I refer to how they are counting on us to provide them with the very basic of all human needs: stable, safe, sanitary housing. And for 75 years, the Springfield Housing Authority has been the premier provider of affordable housing opportunities and the largest landlord in the city of Springfield and in the county of Sangamon. For those 75 years, the SHA has been providing that safe place Innocente refers to, and it fosters hope for many families. Now, while the form in which the SHA has provided the services to our community has transformed with the times and the needs of the families it serves, the basic concept has never wavered. The SHA provides stable living environments to stabilize families and allow them an opportunity to become productive members of our community, without having to worry about, as Innocente said, where am I going to sleep at night? Now, whether it's the 599 units that we knew as John Hay homes, the 41 units that we now know as Genesis Place, whether it is our Section 8 program that we administer, the home ownership and foreclosure prevention program that the Housing Authority administers, the SHA provides hopes and dreams to continue serving families most in need of safe and developing affordable housing with its many partners. Now, the SHA looks at best practices that have been encompassed in the nation to turn blighted areas within our community into thriving communities. And it's done and has been done through Madison Park Place, through Genesis Place, and the plans that are currently underway for the villas at Vinegar Hills, which will be 91 units of affordable housing for senior citizens. We don't just stop with just planned developments. We hope that it looks to the surrounding areas to spread the revitalization efforts and realizes in terms of expanding affordable housing for others. It takes the efforts of the entire community, the local government, private landlords, social service organizations, faith-based organizations, private investors, state and federal government. I am extremely, extremely proud of the strong and rich history of the Springfield Housing Authority. Someone reminded me that I've been here half of the 75 years. It'll soon be 30 years that I will celebrate as a part of the SHA family, and for that I am most proud. I'm also proud and I'm honored to serve as its leader, forging the way and creating new affordable housing opportunities, not just through SHA-initiated developments, but through partnerships with other not-for-profit developers. I am also proud of the work that the SHA staff does. And at this time, I would just like for the SHA staff, wherever you are, to please stand all over the room. And I want to give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. They work diligently each day to ensure that we are operating decent, safe, and sanitary housing while providing the essential services to families so that they too can be successful. I'm also proud of the new initiatives being worked on through public and private partnerships to further expand affordable housing, and I talked about it earlier, the 91 units that we will begin to develop in the spring of 2014, known as the Villas at Vinegar Hill. I am proud of the partnerships with the local unions through our worksite stability agreement. This agreement will impact the local economy and afford SHA clients and those living in the surrounding community with an opportunity to work at the site, which will be known as the Villas. And I'm also proud to unveil today the first ever in this city, and we were only able to find one other similar in the country, a partnership that we will unveil this fall as we break ground on a home that we will call the House of Hope. When there was a fire at 9th and on 9th Street earlier this year, two of our staff came and they said, "Director, we really need to do something for families." And I'd just like to acknowledge those staff as well. AJ, Joe, if you could just kind of wave your hands wherever you are. They said, we need to do something for families who are struck by unfortunate circumstances, such as that fire. And this fall, we will break ground on a piece of land that is being donated by one of our other staff persons, Randy Rhodes. He's donating the property for us to build on so that we can have a 3-bedroom home that we can use in partnership with the Red Cross, I see Colleen Stone at the back, to provide for families who find themselves in that situation. As the community identifies the needs of its residents, the SHA will be here for the next 75 years. I won't, but the SHA will be here for the next 75 years to provide that very basic need and to create a thriving community with stable, safe, affordable housing for those who need it most. Thank you all so very much for sharing this day with us, for being our partners in the past, in the present, and in the future.
Welcome all. Again, my name is Tim Schweitzer, Chairman of the Springfield Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. Commissioner George Alexander, Commissioner Donnie Anderson, Commissioner Dan Long, and I have the pleasure of serving as current members of the SHA Board. Jackie introduced the staff earlier. What happens at SHA, what happens to provide affordable housing to single moms and their children, to seniors, to others in need in Springfield doesn't happen without the folks who stood and heard your applause earlier. We are proud to work with them, proud to support them. We're delighted we have the support of our federal partners at the U.S. Housing and Urban Development Department, our state supporters, and our local government supporters, the Springfield City Council and the Mayor of Springfield, from whom you're about to hear. Please welcome J. Michael Houston, Mayor of the City of Springfield.
Thank you, Tim. Good afternoon. You know, I'm really pleased to be here today to participate in celebrating this 75th anniversary. 75 years is truly a milestone. You know, as I was sitting there and I was watching the film, there was two things that hit me. Number one, I have a 5-year-old granddaughter, and today she is in Orlando. She arrived there on Sunday, but on Monday, her mother sent me a picture of her with the same type of painted face that was shown on that film. And then I was reminded of something else, and that is my youngest daughter, Elizabeth, graduated from St. Louis University with a degree in psychology. And when she went on to work for her master's degree, she went to work for an agency in the St. Louis suburban area in St. Charles called Youth in Need. And the first Thanksgiving that she was there and she was working with a client, she asked if she could bring the client home with her for Thanksgiving. And she told Carolyn and I all the things we couldn't say, ask, and all that type of stuff. And the agency she works with, we're dealing with wards of the state, not criminal justice, wards of the state. And my daughter described this young lady, who was 14 years of age at the time, as someone who had just been dealt a bad hand. there are a lot of people in this world that have been dealt a bad hand. And for those of you that are working on a daily basis with the residents of the Springfield Housing Authority, you really are blessed to have the opportunity to help people. Let me begin, and I hate to stand here being the only thing between you and lunch, because that is always a very, very dangerous thing. But let me begin by thanking Jackie Newman for the job she does as Executive Director, thanking all the staff members of the Springfield Housing Authority, and thanking the board for the job that you do on a daily basis, 365 days of the years. The Springfield Housing Authority really is one of the most vital organizations that we have in this community. We all know that housing is one of the most important aspects of achieving the American dream. For many individuals and families in Springfield, the SHA continues to be that path to the American dream. Today, I congratulate the Springfield Housing Authority on its 75th anniversary. But more importantly, I reaffirm the city's commitment to help fulfill the promise of a decent, safe, and sanitary home for every Springfield resident in any way that we can. Many of you may not know, but my first home in Springfield was the John Hay Homes. My father was just out of the Navy after serving 4 years during World War II when we returned to Springfield. And the John Hay Homes provided us with an opportunity for my parents to be able to work and to save a down payment to purchase their first home. It provided transitional housing not only for my family, but for many families that were coming back to Springfield after the war. And it has provided transitional housing for many, many people over the years. Madison Park Place and Genesis Place is doing much of the same thing today, allowing people to achieve the American dream by being able to purchase their own home. While we can look back on the successes of the last 75 years, today is really a day to look forward to the future. Housing must continue to be a vital priority in Springfield. We must continue to build on our successes and learn from our failures. During my previous terms of mayor from 1979 to 1987, Willis Logan served as my Director of Community Development, and I appointed him to the board of the Springfield Housing Authority so that we would have a good, close working relationship with the authority. Because prior to my coming into office, there was no working relationship whatsoever. I can't tell you the number of times that Willis and I traveled to Washington, D.C. to meet with HUD, trying to get approval and dollars to reduce the density within the John Hay Homes, to talk in terms of expanding the units starting on 11th Street and working back and trying to improve that housing complex at that time. And the answer from HUD was always the same. You're only allowed so many square foot for a bedroom, you're only allowed so many square foot for a living room, and we can't do that. The density of the John Hay Homes caused problems that continued to grow long after I left office, until funding was finally available to totally replace the John Hay Homes with Madison Park Place. Willis Logan, by that time, was the executive director of the Springfield Housing Authority and led the effort to build Madison Park Place. Today, we need to build on the successes of Madison Park Place and Genesis Place, which was done under the direction of Jackie Newman. Housing in Springfield is important in helping us to truly rebound from the recession. It's important because it creates jobs, and it creates wealth. But the housing gap in Springfield remains a significant challenge. And if the housing gap in Springfield is growing, those individuals who are able to achieve the American dream is shrinking. There is an increased need for housing in Springfield, especially for female heads of households. Female heads of households with children grew by 9.4%, a 1.2% increase since the year 2000. They are some of the most vulnerable families that we have in this community. Mothers with children comprise 75% of the homeless needing emergency and transitional shelter from Springfield's social service agencies. When working families are priced out of housing, our community problems only grow. Smart growth is the key to meeting Springfield's housing needs. We must continue to support the Springfield Housing Authority and meet the housing needs of the underserved in every way that we possibly can. The city should look at all programs or incentives to assist low to moderate income families to buy or rent the housing that they need to live. We must remember that we are all trustees of our city. Abraham Lincoln once said, "I am a success today because I had a friend who believed in me, and I did not have the heart to let him down." As friends of the Springfield Housing Authority, we are all here today to say that we believe in you, and we know that you will not let us down. Congratulations on 75 years of service to this community.
First off, I'd like to thank for being with us today. And again, Springfield City Government is such an important partner to the Springfield Housing Authority. And thanks again to the mayor for being with us. Alderman Simpson, Alderman McMiniman, thank you very much for joining us today. From county government, Josh Langfelder, we sure appreciate you being here today. We appreciate all of you being here today. They're in the booklet at your desks, at your tables. This is a pretty good book, by the way. If you get a chance later today, please, in addition to reading through it, please note the sponsors who are indicated in the program. Events like this, a celebration like this, our sponsors are very important, and we appreciate many of them being with us today, and we especially appreciate their support. May we have a hand for all the sponsors of today's luncheon. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development is a key, and I say key, partner to all we do in public housing here in Springfield. And Regional Director Steve Mice wishes he could be here with us today. He was intending to be here with us today, but he did send his regrets, and I'm going to read just a brief letter that he sent. I'm disappointed to inform you that we're unable to attend the event. We're simply maxed out because of the fact that I'm, at least for the foreseeable future, the receiver for the Gary Housing Authority. I was in Gary, Indiana last week. I can tell you, folks, he'd much rather be here than there. But he's apparently in Gary, Indiana today. And Director Mice writes that my life at HUD, almost since the early 80s, seems to intertwine with troubled housing authorities. In fact, Springfield was one of my challenges back in the 90s when we concluded that we would have to take over because conditions and performance were so bad. But now things are much different, and there is cause for celebration. I wish I could attend the 75th anniversary observance to bask with you and others in the marvelous accomplishments that the SHA has achieved subsequent to those bad years. Because of a firmly committed Board of Commissioners, an outstanding executive director and staff, and a solid partnership with the city, SHA continues to be one of the leading housing authorities in the state of Illinois. Without these ingredients, all that you are doing would not be possible. The Springfield Housing Authority was the fourth to be formed in Illinois just after Peoria. It was in the wake of the passage of the U.S. Housing Act of 1937 that leadership in Springfield decided to take advantage of the opportunity to clear up dilapidated neighborhoods and build brand new, decent, safe, and sanitary housing for low-income families. It really is important to pause and remember the mission way back then. As we know, we have many cities in Illinois where the decision was not made, so there aren't many housing options in those cities for lower-income families and individuals. But because of that local leadership in Springfield, thousands of families have been housed over the course of the last 7+ decades. And the really good news is that despite a few downs, it's still happening because of the crucial leadership that is still alive and well in Springfield. And the housing you are providing to those in need is better than ever. I can never say enough about the importance of decent housing. Without it, families cannot flourish. Without it, many of our seniors would live out their final years absent the security of a decent home that they can afford. Housing is everything. It's right there after food on the human hierarchy of needs. Indeed, you are worthy of congratulations. For you and yours, best wishes, Steve Mice. He is the Regional Director of our federal partners, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and we thank him for those kind words and observances. Now will you please welcome, thank you. Please welcome one of our dedicated staff who does a great job every day, and we'll introduce our guest speakers, Melissa Huffstetler, the Deputy Director of SHA. Melissa.
Hi. I'm a little nervous. There's a lot of people in this room. When we started planning this event, we started trying to think of who do we want to showcase? Who do we want to present to the community? When Director Newman was up here, the video that was shown before she started was the Rethink Housing. Rethink the way that we think about folks that are living in public housing. We saw the video of Innocente, and if you get a chance, try to see the entire 39-minute documentary. You will cry, I promise you. It's a story of resilience. Innocente is resilient. She's a hard worker. She's dedicated. When I came to the Housing Authority 14 years ago, right out of graduate school, I thought, oh, I'm going to change the world. Josh. I'm going to really make a difference for the residents who live in public housing. I'm going to share all my knowledge and all my skills, and they are going to achieve great things. But what I didn't realize was that our residents are the most hardworking, determined, and resilient folks that I've ever worked with in my entire life. And so today, we really want to showcase excellent examples in Patrice and LaTanya on what it means to overcome barriers and challenges and still be successful, overcome illness, overcome multiple children, overcome not having a job, to finding a job, to increasing education. The Housing Authority has this fantastic family self-sufficiency program, which brought me to the Housing Authority. I'm so proud of the work that they do. I'm proud of all the participants that participate in the program, and each month there's a way for the residents to earn escrow. So as they increase their education and they increase their job skills, we'll take their old rent versus their new rent, and we'll create an escrow account. And I'm most proud when our staff is presenting those checks to the families in front of our board. 14 years later, I'm still so excited as the very first time that I presented a check to a graduate. This year, we have distributed over $1 million. To those hardworking, resilient families that are overcoming barriers. So when you think of public housing, when you're rethinking housing, we want you to think of all those hardworking families that might just need us for a minute. Mayor talked about their family needing it for a minute, a transition till they could get to the next thing. We're so much more than the bricks and mortar. Even though you may drive by and see the bricks and mortar, there's housing counseling. We're preventing people from being foreclosed upon. We're getting people financially literate. We're providing them the support that they need to move on to that next level. When our participants come to the board meeting and they receive the big fancy check, and if you saw it outside, it says over $1 million. It's very exciting. But the one thing I hear from those participants when they when they get their check and they graduate in front of the board is how thankful they are to have had the Springfield Housing Authority. Not just the assistance for their rent, but that safe place for their kids to live, for them to go on to the next thing, to find that next job. They don't have to worry about where they're living, so they can focus their attention on how do I get my education better? How do I get that next job? So today, lest I take up all of the rest of the program time, I am pleased to introduce LaTanya, who's going to speak first. She is a family self-sufficiency participant and the mother of 3 children. She enrolled in our program in 2007. She's overcome many challenges, and I'll let her tell her story while she's up here. But she has applied for the master's degree program at Benedictine and just exemplifies that moving in and around. That's a big accomplishment. Patrice is near and dear to my heart because I worked with her in family self-sufficiency, and she was actually one of the very first graduates of our program. And I don't know if it's in her bio, and I don't know if I'm supposed to tell, but I'm telling. Because I'm so proud of Patrice, and she gave back to our community. She worked at Coalition for Community Services. She worked in Brandon trying to get our residents to pull together for a resident council and activate them in our community. She was one of our very first homeowners of the program. I just very proud to know you, to have you talk on behalf of the Springfield Housing Authority, and know that these are just a small sample of those 3,000 families that we're working with that are really making a difference and just need us for a short time so the next family can come on. Those next 3,000 people that are on our waiting list are waiting for these folks to move out so they can get in there and do the next thing. So welcome, and thank you for being here.
I'm really very nervous, so you guys have to bear with me. And first off, I'd like to say I have 4 children. I think my son would be very upset if he got forgotten. When I was first approached by Renetta about speaking today, I automatically said no. And this is even after taking a public speaking class. I was like, no. But when she explained to me why she wanted me to speak, or why FSS wanted me to speak, I changed my mind because I do have a story. As everybody that has the programs probably has read my bio, I have overcome so many things. And I promised myself I wasn't going to cry, so. But when I asked my grandmother, what should I say? Where should I begin? And she just said, speak from the heart. So that's what I'll do. When I first started the FSS program, I was a mess. I was fresh out of a bad relationship, moving back home with no resources, not knowing what to do, back on assistance after being off for over 10, 15 years, just a mess. And when my former caseworker came, and Denise Vaughn, and she sat down and she told me to write down 3 goals. And I wrote down some vague, nondescript goals because my head was just not where it should have been. So when I handed her the paper, she looked at the paper and she kind of grunted a little bit, and she made a line through the paper and she wrote down 2 words. And those 2 words were, be specific. And I was like, what do you mean be specific? And she was like, just what I said, be specific. She's like, those are not real goals. I want real goals. I want achievable goals. I want something that you've wanted for a long time. I want you to write them down because those are the goals. These are goals that you're going to be familiar with for the next 5 years. And so I did that. And when I achieved one goal, she would always say, okay, what else? Is there something else you want to do? So when I achieved the goal of my associate's degree, and I thought about Denise, and I said, you know what? What else? I want my bachelor's. And so on and so forth. But when I ran into the obstacle of my illness, I became so discouraged. I just knew it was the end for me. But again, I thought about Denise, and I thought about that, be specific, and what else? What else do you want? And I knew at that moment, one was I knew I wanted to beat my cancer, and I knew that I was gonna beat my cancer, and I wanted to finish the FSS program. So when I met Renetta after being in recovery, she became my biggest cheerleader. Up until the day I graduated this past spring, when I walked that stage and I looked out at my family and I looked out at my friends and the people I had come through with, I knew that my story was yet to be written. I looked back on everything, every procedure I had, every blood test, every scan, every surgery, everything I had, I put into finishing school and walking that stage that day. And so when I told Renetta, you know what, I'm gonna be specific. I'm gonna apply for the master's program at Benedictine. And I said, I don't want just the average master's program. I want to apply for the master's, and I want my master's in business because I want to make my own position. I don't want to be told that you're a mother of four, you can't be in business. You're a mother of four, you can't do this. You're a mother of four, you can't do that. You have a cancer history, you can't do this. So with that being said, and to make my speech, just for the participants that come after me, for anybody who is going through, anybody who's been through, just know that when you are specific and you tell yourself that you have no limit, there is no limit, and you ask yourself, what else? There's nothing you can achieve. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Patrice Jones, and I stand before you today as a person who have achieved more than I ever dreamed. I came to Springfield Urban League, I don't even know how many years ago. Springfield Housing Authority, I don't know how many years ago. And when I entered the doors, I remember I had a Section 8 voucher. I was on food stamps. I had 4 small children, and I had goals, but I had no direction. And I met Melissa. And there again, we had to write down our 3 goals of what we wanted to do as being part of the FSS program. And my 3 goals were, it's been such a long time ago, I had to research them and go back and look at what they were. I wanted to complete my studies and earn an associate's degree in criminal justice. Also, one of my goals was to obtain full-time employment with benefits. And then my final goal was to purchase a home. My story is a little bit different because even with all of this happening, I was married. And even with my husband and I, we still didn't make enough money for a family of 6 to be sustainable. So with that said, I started off on this journey. And I completed my first 2 goals. I earned my associate's degree in criminal justice, and I found a job with benefits. And with that, I was granted money to purchase a home. So I go back and see Melissa, and she's like, that's all great, that's fine and everything, but self-sufficient means self-sufficient. That means no more food stamps, no more WIC, no more Section 8 vouchers, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what did I sign up for? So she said, you have a certain amount of time, and I can't remember what the timetable was, to disengage myself with those programs. So I remember specifically, this is probably the only part that I remember because this was just, like I said, this was a long time ago. I remember going to the DHS office on 18th Street. I did not make an appointment. I went to see my caseworker, and I remember sitting in that place for hours and hours on end just to see my caseworker because I did not have an appointment. Once I finally got into there, we sat across from each other face to face, and I told him, I said, I am here today to give you back my link card. And he looked at me and he said, "You're to do what?" And I said, "I want to turn in my link card." And I explained to him that I was part of this program through the Housing Authority, and I completed all my goals and everything, and this was the last part of me becoming, standing on my own 2 feet. And he told me, he said, "I am not going to close your case." He said, I'm going to leave your case open. You can turn in your link card, but I'm going to leave your case open for 3 months, just in case you have to come back. Just in case, you have to walk through those doors again. You won't have to start the process all over again. That moment changed my life because I told him I will not be back. Okay, I'm trying to get through this. I told him then, I said, when I walk back through those doors, I will not be taking anything from you. I will come back when I have something to offer. My job was an administrative assistant at a non-for-profit by the name of Illinois Coalition for Community Services. I was administrative assistant for about a year. From there, I went on to become a community organizer. And in that position, I got to meet so many wonderful people in the community of Springfield, and I see a lot of faces in here today that stood alongside me and taught me how to be a person with integrity, how to be a person that cared about other people that were outside of my circle. And in that, probably 2 years into me being a community organizer, my supervisor at the time came to me and said, "Okay, we want to do satellite offices." I said, "I already know where I need to go. I'm going to Brandon Drive." And he looked at me with this face of like, "What? You want to go where?" And I said, "That's where the work needs to be done, and that's where I want to go." I worked in Brandon Drive as community organizer for over 5 years. And in that 5 years, alongside with some of the people that are in this room and various other people, I was part of a movement of making people's lives just a little bit better. We started the Star Smart Back to School and Health Fair, giving free immunizations and school supplies to kids so that they could stay in school. We had summer feeding programs at Calvary Baptist Church, which fed over 100 kids a day. I was a supervisor of a VISTA program, which is a Volunteer in Service to America program, where I would give people opportunities, anyone over the age of 18 who wanted to work in the community. I did FAFSA workshops for young men and women who wanted to go back to school but didn't know how. I also was part of mentoring programs for young adults and women who were in the Brandon Drive and surrounding communities. That work made me who I am today. And I stand here proud of myself, proud of the work that I've done. I'm a mother of 4 children, and they're ages 25, 22, 20, and 16. My 3 oldest children all attend college because they said, "Mom, we watched you from the time when we lived on Enos Street in Section 8 housing to the time we purchased our home. And we watched how you stood there and you held your head high and you never, ever gave up. I always said that when my youngest daughter, who's 16, got into 2nd grade, I would return back to school to complete my studies. Well, she's be a junior in high school, and I just completed my bachelor's degree and applied for my master's. I want to thank the Springfield Housing Authority for changing my life. My life has become full circle. As of August the 1st, I was hired as a property manager at Timberlake Estates. Now, those units are owned by Abundant Faith Christian Center. However, they are managed by the Springfield Housing Authority. While I am not yet an employee of the Housing Authority, my life has become full circle because I am back where I started. Thank you.
Pretty good cap to our show, don't you think? Great stories, stories from the heart. Shows the importance of what the Springfield Housing Authority has done, is doing, and will continue to do in this community. To give folks a key to a home, it's the key to their future, and that's what SHA is all about. To the staff, keep up the great work. To all of you who support SHA and all we do, thank you. Thanks for joining us for this celebration. Have a great afternoon.